So Danny Pennies strikes again. The New York Giants just lost to the Carolina Panthers 20-17 in overtime. I will say this, not everything is on Daniel Jones and the reason why they lost this game. Tracy Jr. had a fumble in overtime, and it basically put the Panthers right into field goal range. It was the first play in overtime. But I will say this, Daniel Jones is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I understand no Andrew Thomas and all those things for the New York Giants, and Tracy Jr. is going to be very upset about this loss. But the numerous times that Daniel Jones missed wide receivers in this game is ridiculous. And that has been the theme with the New York Giants all season long. When I look at a guy like Daniel Jones, he's been in the NFL for 6 years now, and it has been 6 years of misery for New York Giants fans. The worst thing that could have happened to the New York Giants a couple of years ago is the fact that they made the NFL playoffs with him and Saquon Barkley, and they won a playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings. Daniel Jones got paid off of that playoff run. And since then, he has been one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. We've seen enough at this point. We saw him his rookie season. He had 24 passing touchdowns. That's the most that he has had in his career in a season. This is a quarterback that has dealt with injuries in the past. He's dealt with a neck injury. He had a torn ACL last season. And Brian Daboll is not the perfect head coach. He's far from it. But when guys are getting open down the field against the Steelers, against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football game, and you can't hit them in stride, that is on you. That is not on the coach. And you have a very good running back in Tracy Jr. as well. I really like his game. I know the running theme right now with the New York Giants. How do you go out there and pick Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley? You're going to pick your quarterback, even if he is subpar, because it's hard to find talent at that position. But Daniel Jones doesn't deserve to be a starting quarterback with any NFL team anymore. As a backup, I think that he will be fine. He will be solid. But Danny Pennies, he continues to strike for this team. And you know what? I will say this. If you're a Giants fan, the bright side is this right here. He won't be the starting quarterback next season because this team only has 2 wins on the season. There's a real possibility that they finish with the first or second overall pick, and you can select a quarterback like Cam Ward. I don't know if they'll go with Shedeur Sanders, but maybe you go with a guy like Cam Ward and you can really see what this offense can look like. Because it's not like the New York Giants don't have talent. You have a very good wide receiver in Malik Neighbors. This kid can be a true number 1, and he's dealt with numerous drops this season. He'll get that under control. You have Wan'Dale Robinson as well. I like Darius Slayton. I like the tight end they have as well, and Theo Johnson. They have good players. It's just on Daniel Jones. And before Andrew Thomas went down this season, the offensive line was one of the best offensive lines that he's worked with in his career. They decided to go out there and bench Evan Neal. They benched Deonte Banks a couple of weeks ago against the Steelers when he got hurdled over, when Najee Harris hurdled over him because they questioned his effort. Now, I will say this about Brian Daboll. We've seen him bench numerous players in the past, and that's why I bring these players up. Let's not forget what he did with Kenny Golladay early in the season, his first season with the Giants. He benched all those players. He can't bench Daniel Jones because of ownership. And I know that because he would have easily benched Daniel Jones a long time ago with the inaccurate passes. Do you know that Daniel Jones in today's game by halftime was 6 of 14? 6 of 14 for only 54 passing yards. Last week against the Washington Commanders, he was 4 of 6. You may say, hey, those are good numbers for Daniel Jones. 0 passing yards. He is terrible, but it's on ownership at this point. This is their guy. They love Daniel Jones. And part of the reason why they love him so much, he went to the Manning Academy. This is a guy that they love a lot. He has a good relationship with Peyton and Eli Manning. That's why they brought him in. And it was talent there early on. I'm not going to argue. And he will go out there. He will give you his all. He's just not good enough. I know I make jokes. I call him Danny Pennies and all those things. He will go out there and give you his all. He's just not a good quarterback. We saw what he was able to do against the Washington Commanders on the goal line. He ran the defenders over to get in the red zone, but he's not a good quarterback. And it's time to realize that. You went against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. No offense, Carolina Panther fans, but this defense is terrible, even though they played well in today's game. But Daniel Jones cannot hit open guys. It's time to put in a guy like Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito to see what you really have. But neither one of those guys are going to be franchise quarterbacks. So it may just be best to go out there and just stick with Daniel Jones because you're paying him so much money. I feel bad for New York Giant fans because they knew the writing was on the wall as soon as Saquon Barkley left. They knew what was going to happen. And this is a quarterback that has talent now. There's no excuses for Daniel Jones. You brought in a very good head coach and Brian Dable, who has very good experience in the past with helping develop Josh Allen. Will it be times where he forgets the tight ends are on the field? Sure. But he can scheme guys open. We saw this with Tyrod Taylor last year. We saw this with Tommy DeVito as well. Now, I'm not saying the offense was groundbreaking when those guys stepped into the game, but at least they had a pulse and it was consistent. This is a Giants team that will go 5 to 6 drives without crossing the 50-yard line because he's not good enough. The athleticism is there, but when you force Daniel Jones to stay inside the pocket and throw the football around, he's not good enough. And the excuses in the past, bad offensive line, doesn't have the good wide receivers, those excuses no longer exist. And I understand early on in his development, the Giants really messed him up because you had Jason Garrett as an offensive play caller. You had Joe Judge as a head coach. 2 terrible coaches. But at a certain point in time, you have to hold a quarterback accountable. And the New York Giants have not done that. They've held everyone else accountable with Evan Neal because he's a complete bust on the offensive line. They're doing that now with Deonte Banks. He had a very good rookie season. This sophomore season, he hasn't been as good. We've seen them go out there, let players go. But when it comes to Daniel Jones, when he has an average season, they'll go out there and say, you know what? They'll make all the excuses, put in some more talent. They're wasting Malik Neighbors. They're wasting Wan'Dale Robinson with this trash quarterback. And I also look at it from this standpoint as well. They declined his 5th-year option, and they had a conversation with Russell Wilson. Now, when they went out there and declined the 5th-year option, that's the year after the Daniel Jones went out there and he had an okay season with Saquon Barkley. They made the NFL playoffs with Brian Dable. But when Russell Wilson got cut by the Denver Broncos, they went out there and they had a conversation with him. The same with the Steelers. He ultimately went to the Steelers to become their starting quarterback right now, and he's playing very well. I do believe if Russell Wilson was a starting quarterback with the Giants, they at least have 5 to 6 wins this season if he was fully healthy. Easily. I believe that they'll have 2 to 3 more wins with a guy like Drew Lock. And yes, they have a lot of issues besides Daniel Jones, but he's their biggest issue. Sooner they move off of Daniel Jones, the better this offense would be and the better situation that Brian Dable and Joe Schoen would be in as well. Now, you heard what ownership said a couple weeks ago. He said he was going to come out, he's going to be patient this season. He wasn't going to give up on Brian Dable. He wasn't going to give up on Joe Schoen. We'll see. But get rid of Daniel Jones. Cut him. Let him go to a different team. He could be a very solid backup in the NFL. As a starter, he's terrible. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about Daniel Jones and the New York Giants going further into this season, and should he still be the starting quarterback for the rest of the season? And I do understand this as well. The second interception by Josie Jewell was a great play. He throws the football to the running back. The running back wasn't able to come down with it. Josie Jewell comes away with the interception. That's not on Daniel Jones. But the interception before, that's on him. And he should have thrown 3 interceptions in this game. Josie Jewell had a tip, and it just bounced back to the tight end. I'm telling you, he's a terrible quarterback. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, we want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.